For Women is an album of music for solo piano by Vitislava Kapralova, Florence Price, Ethel Billsland, and Margaret Bonds. I came across Florence Price's music when I was studying. There was a course about early 20th century music, and our professor had a listening list as well as a reading list. And there were two pieces, one by Florence Price and one by Margaret Bonds, on a particular week where we were looking at Black women composers. And it was a huge moment, I guess, for me, almost having to do a double take, realizing, wow, Black women composed music. It was something that I'd never been aware of before. I'd been somewhat aware of the fact that there were Black classical musicians, just thinking about Samuel Coleridge Taylor. But Black women composers, that was something that completely blew my mind. And then what I was really interested in with Florence Price's music is how she actually didn't engage with jazz, which might have been an expectation, for her to blend jazz and classical forms, but her inspirations went really far back in terms of African American folk music, plantation songs and dances, and the rites and rituals around sort of slave culture. That's where she drew a lot of her influence and inspiration, and it was something that I'd never heard before, and her music just instantly connected with me. So with Florence Price, something that's really sort of stood out to me is this the fact that she uses E minor a lot, and when she's conveying these sort of spiritual type melodies, this key of E minor just seems to work so well. So I can demonstrate the first theme from her sonata in E minor. And it just sounds so rich, and I don't know if there's any other key that could convey that theme, really. The most important thing, I think, is for people who don't necessarily see themselves reflected in this history to, see a composer like Florence Price or Kapralova and feel welcomed in this sphere and feel that it's accessible and that they can achieve anything that they want to in this as a composer, as a performer, and to know that there were people before them doing this and that there is a future for them in this. This album is called For Women and is directly influenced by Nina Simone and her song For Women. And Nina Simone always aspired to be a classical musician, and race basically got in the way of that path. And the song For Women is just so powerful because it speaks to the experiences of African American women during that time. And the way in which I was influenced in terms of naming this album For Women is, I guess, reimagining, if Nina Simone had had the opportunity to be a classical musician, she'd be telling very different stories. And that's where, I guess, my For Women comes in, sort of progressing that conversation and looking at other women composers, and I guess recognizing that we're in a time where we can tell, I guess, more diverse stories as well.